Yes! Donkey of the Day for Friday, June 23rd, 6 days until my born day, goes to the unnamed white police officers in St. Louis who shot an off-duty black cop. And all the black cop was trying to do was help. Another day, another story about racism in America. Look, I don't wake up in the morning and say, what can we talk about that's racial today? But some of these stories are just too good to be true, okay? The content, as sad as it is, can't be ignored. Well, according to the New York Daily News, a 38-year-old African-American cop was home Wednesday night, probably in the house, just finished eating dinner, maybe some chicken marsala. Okay, probably had on his basketball shorts, cooling out, watching the Carmichael show on NBC. And then outside, he heard a commotion. The commotion he was hearing was his fellow officers pursuing a white sedan with three male suspects inside. And the sedan crashed near his house, okay? The three men in the car opened fire on the pursuing police officers and fled the scene. Now, a police officer's creed is to protect and to serve, right?
Correct.
And the off-duty black officer, being the great public servant that he is, grabbed his department-issued gun and went outside to offer assistance, went out to offer some help to his fellow officers who had just been shot at. And this is when all the donkey BS happened. Let's go to Fox 2 St. Louis for the report, please.
Well, Mike, late this afternoon, we talked with that wounded off-duty officer's attorney Rufus Tate. He says that the officer walked outside of his home where the incident ended, identified himself as an officer, and followed the officer's commands.
We have a police officer standing in his own yard who's outside because he hears the commotion, sees the car crash in front of his neighbor's house right in the same block. And he comes out, is in a conversation with some of the officers that are on the scene pursuing the stolen car, and he winds up getting shot. This happens to be the first time in the national discourse that we're aware of a black professional or a law enforcement officer himself being shot or treated as an ordinary black guy on the street. And we can see that this is a real problem.
Detectives say it all unfolded around 10 last night. The three people in the car fired shots at officers. Police pursued the vehicle. The vehicle then stopped near Park and Astra, where more shots were fired. We are told the off-duty officer who lives in the area came outside of his home armed with his department-issued weapon and was ordered to the ground by two officers. The officers recognized the off-duty officer and told him to stand and walk toward them. Meanwhile, a 36-year-old white male officer just arriving on the scene did not recognize the off-duty officer. He told city police investigators he feared for his safety, so he fired a shot, hitting the off-duty officer in the arm.
And in the police report that you have so far, there's absolutely no description of any type of threat he perceived. And so we have a real problem with that. But it also presents a bigger problem that's been a course of national discussion for the past 2 years. That is this perception that a black man is automatically to be feared.
There's a lot of things going on in America lately that are unexplainable, and the reason they are unexplainable is because nobody wants to state the obvious, and the obvious is that there's an irrational fear of black people in America, okay? This officer came to be of assistance to his fellow officers and then was forced to the ground by those same officers he was trying to help and then shot. Now, let me play white devil's advocate for a minute. Even if he was in plain clothes and he rolls up with a gun, okay? Due to the circumstances of just being shot at from suspects you are pursuing, I can understand the officers being extra cautious and overly aggressive. But once you recognize that he is a member of your force, you shouldn't be telling him to get up and walk toward you. You should be helping him up, okay, and apologizing for the misunderstanding. And then when this other cop pulls up, why are you shooting? Can't you see your partner's got everything under control? You just pulled up on the scene and you got the nerve to say you fear for your safety. You pull up and two of your fellow officers are out there with who you think is a perceived suspect. Y'all got him outnumbered 3-1. All of y'all got guns. You the police, but you fear for your safety. Then the police chief had the nerve to say the officer that had been shot was injured by friendly fire.
That's crazy.
Wasn't nothing friendly about that fire, okay? Only person trying to be friendly in that situation was the black cop who got shot. Can we hear from his attorney, Rufus Tate Jr., one more time, just from the attorney?
This happens to be the first time in the national discourse that we're aware of a black professional or a law enforcement officer himself being shot or